Welcome back to Honors Spotlight, the podcast where we go beyond the GPA to explore the real stories behind MTSU's honors students. I'm your host, Robin Lee, and today we're taking things global. In this episode, we're joined by two remarkable students, Ariel Nicastro and Taylor Timms, who each stepped far outside their comfort zones for transformative study abroad experiences. Ariel, a Buchanan Fellow and Gilman Scholar, traveled north to Canada, while Taylor, an anthropology major with a love for languages, ventured to Brazil. From new cultures and academic insights to personal growth and unexpected challenges, Ariel and Taylor open up about what it really means to study abroad and how those journeys change them in ways they never expected. So let's go ahead and dive in.
Hi, my name is Ariel Nicastro, and I'm about to be a senior. And like Robin said, I am a Buchanan Fellow and Gilman Scholar. And I've had two MTSU signature study abroad experiences while at MTSU. My first one in 2023 was a cross-cultural perspectives in tourism and leisure course in New Zealand. And I just got back from a religious diversity course in Toronto and Montreal, Canada.
Awesome. And Taylor.
Hi, my name's Taylor Timms. I am a Buchanan Transfer Fellow and Anthropology major. I've also had two MTSU study abroad experiences. Both have been to Brazil, specifically for archaeology.
That is amazing. So what drew you guys to those particular experiences or programs?
So I'm a physics major, so noticing that these two courses do not line up with my major, my main reason for studying abroad is that I truly want to explore new cultures and understand the world better. So truly my motivation to study abroad was traveling, but also meeting others and getting to get a deeper insight into the culture.
Yeah, mine was a very similar reason, specifically for archaeology. I mean, anthropology is the study of human culture. So I wanted to expand my knowledge and go somewhere new and also get the fieldwork experience while I was there.
So prior to these experiences with MTSU, had either of you been outside of the U.S. before or traveled a lot?
I had not.
I do have a family located in Israel, and in high school I did study abroad for a year, but it got kind of cut short by COVID. So I spent a lot of time at my grandparents' house getting immersed in the Hebrew language and the culture outside of my school.
That is really cool. Okay. So what was your first impression when you arrived in Brazil?
For me, I mean, like I said, it was my first time abroad, so I was just kind of shell-shocked just by the experience of being able to go somewhere brand new. I don't think it actually hit me that I was in a whole other continent until a couple days in. I was at the beach and people around me were speaking Portuguese, and I just felt oh my God, I'm really here right now.
And you've been to Israel before, Ariel, so was Canada a little different, or were there similarities?
Yes, I think Canada felt, we first landed in Toronto, so originally it did feel like I was just traveling to another North American city, but that has its own special aspect because it just makes you more excited to experience a new location, and you know that it's a new country. So it's really exciting and special to be able to dive into exactly what details make Canada and the culture different from the United States. But in New Zealand, I thought it was fantastic to even hear a New Zealand accent because I don't think I have before. So it felt definitely pretty different, even though they still spoke English there.
Is it different from an Australian accent? Because that's what I imagined.
Surprisingly, yes.
Okay, good to know. So since you guys have both now traveled through MTSU, do you guys have any advice regarding group travel through the university?
I would definitely say make friends with the people you're traveling with. I think you guys are all going through an experience together, and you may know some people going down that you're going with, or you may not. But if you guys can connect even a little, it makes it a lot easier.
I would definitely agree with what Taylor said. Having two study abroad experiences, with Canada being my most second and recent one, and getting to know the people better before traveling abroad, I feel like it was a much more comfortable experience because when you go abroad, it's new for everybody. And I think that having some sense of comfort with your peers is very important.
So is there a specific standout memory from either of you guys' times abroad that you really just kind of captured the essence of your whole experience?
When I was in Canada, we were doing religious site visits to many different religious locations. And the first location we went to was the Ganesh Hindu Temple in Toronto. And I vividly remember this because we could not take pictures. And honestly, I wish I could just capture this memory in my head forever, because it was like jaw-dropping. Colors everywhere, temples to all of the Hindu deities. And there was a service going on, so we had music, bells, smoke, and the smell of incense, and it just filled all of your senses. And it was honestly jaw-dropping and gave me chills just to even be in this location and get to learn about the culture.
It sounds beautiful.
For me, I think when I went to Brazil, we spent some time in the city, but then we went into the Amazon rainforest for the actual archaeology excavation. And the first night there, we sat around the pool, and there were people from the States and Brazil and France and just like all over. And none of us like really knew like the group as a whole, but we all got to talk about like things we liked about archaeology. And it was the first time that I had been around that many people who like, we weren't from the same backgrounds, but we all liked the same thing. And I thought that that was a really cool moment. It wasn't anything like glamorous or anything, but getting to meet all those people.
How did you guys get to engage with the local culture? Was there like food or festivals or daily routines or just conversations with locals in general?
The Canada program that I was in, we definitely had these religious site visits that did sometimes come with food, and we had time to interact with at least one person from this religious site, and we had like kind of a Q&A forum after being shown around the temples we visited. For example, we had a visit to a Sikh Gurdwara where we had a langar meal, which is they prepare a very large portions, and you come up with a tray and they give you food and you all eat on the floor together. And it's a very neat experience. And we also got to witness a service that they had afterwards. And I think that each religious site visit kind of followed in this pattern, where we got to experience like in tandem the food and services and have these conversations with people.
Taylor, I just am imagining archaeology like digging up bones and things like that. So what was your experience like?
I got to learn a lot about the culture that we were actually going to like the excavation for beforehand by like going to the museum. We worked with a museum in Brazil who also went to the dig site. So that helped engage the culture a lot. But we also went around to other like botanical sites, and there's a famous market in Brazil called Vero Peso. It's like one of the largest markets in the world. So we were able to go there, and I think that was definitely like a cultural immersion. And for food, acai is really big down there, which is one of my favorite things. So I ate a lot of acai.
Was there anything that surprised you about how people lived or worked or thought compared to the U.S.?
I was very surprised by, we call it Brazilian time, but people in Brazil are a lot more like nonchalant about like if you say you're going to be there at 9, it's like 9-ish. And I think all the Americans were like very stressed out because we're so used to like everything being so scheduled. And it was a lot calmer about like, if you're late, you're late. Like, we're cool with that. It's a little detail, but I'm a very like scheduled person. So I was like freaking out, but
I think that would stress me out a lot too, because I like to be on time.
As for me, I think it was very interesting to learn about how, especially Montreal is tied very closely into the history of the religion there. And in addition, there are a lot of land acknowledgements. So this was the first thing that we learned before we went to any site on the first day. And it was the land acknowledgement. So we are acknowledging that we are studying on Indigenous land. And I've noticed that in Canadian podcasts, or perhaps even in museums, they will have land acknowledgements. And I noticed this also at an Anglican church service that we went to on our second day. And, you know, the United States has a similar history as Canada, like being in North America, being on Indigenous land. But Canada is a lot more cognizant of it, I think, or at least in like a spoken manner about it.
Okay. I remember that lecture series. I don't know if you were in that class whenever they were talking about it, but I remember that. Yeah. So how did your academic focus connect with your experience abroad? Did it kind of reshape how you saw your field of study?
Being an anthropology major, obviously the archaeology tied in very closely to my field of study. But being able to go to Brazil the first time really got me interested in anthropogenic soil, which is soil that has been like altered by humanity over time. And that ended up being what I chose to focus on for my honors thesis. So it had an impact on that. And that's why I ended up going back to study it more.
Okay, so what are some ways that humans change soil?
Yeah, so to elaborate a little bit. So for example, in Brazil, they call it Amazonian dark earth. And the soil in Brazil normally is like very, like in the Amazon region, is very like infertile because of the environment. So people will like burn things and just over time get it to be more like rich and usable for farming.
I'm surprised to hear that it's infertile because I think of Amazon, I think of all the trees and the rainforest. Wow, okay.
That's impressive, Taylor. And as for me, this is very interesting because I received a comment from one of my classmates while in Canada about halfway through that says, "I'm very excited you're going on this trip because you're not a religious studies major or minor." And it was an interesting conversation after that because we were understanding that I came into this with a different perspective than the religious studies majors. As a physics major, I was learning about religious studies from kind of a blank slate. I just wanted to learn more and approach it from perhaps a logical perspective and really find these like common themes, differences between different cultures. And this was definitely shaping how I saw my field of study because I could relate to a lot of the religious studies majors and that they were trying to learn more about cultures, and perhaps science is not too different from that. We're also trying to just learn more, and in my case, learn more about the world around me. So I think that science perspective was very helpful.
Was there anything specific that you remember from there that you could take back and apply in your physics studies or even towards your thesis or anything like that?
In general, I do have a theme of like cross-cultural collaboration. This will also with an interest in management. I think that this will be very helpful just for soft skills.
So were there any challenges, be it academic, cultural, personal, that you all had to navigate either before you left or while you were there?
I think for me, the biggest challenge was the language because English is not like the primary language in Brazil. It's Portuguese. And I spent some time working on it before I went down, but it was the first time I had been like in a situation where the people around me were speaking an entirely different language and I didn't always know what was being said.
I did have to write a like pre-departure reflection on how I felt being abroad, and this was in fact one of the questions. And I think that coming into it with an open mind, I didn't foresee any big challenges, but I was just hoping that people would be open-minded in return, perhaps. But coming from a Jewish and Israeli background, I wasn't too sure how that would be received, but everybody was very like accepting and just of anybody's culture. So it was very exciting to just, they put all of your like backgrounds and beliefs aside and just go forward and learn about other religions together. And I think that was very exciting.
Has your opportunity studying abroad changed you all? Maybe not as a student, but as a person?
I think that I am much more well-rounded. I think when I first came to MTSU in general, I had that science brain, and I think that was about it. But thankfully with the Honors College and these study abroad experiences that aren't related to my major, I was able to get a much more like liberal arts and well-rounded like mindset. And I think that's been really helpful in interacting with others and leading groups.
I think my study abroad experience made me a lot more confident and like willing to travel. As I mentioned, it was my first time going abroad ever. And I was really, really nervous beforehand. But since then, I've reached out. I've gone on internship opportunities in Norway and Tanzania. And I honestly don't think I would have even looked at those had I not done this experience first.
So you guys are both, sounds like, interested in continuing to travel abroad and just learn new things and experiences, whether with MTSU or not, right?
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. I don't want to put words in your mouth with that. What advice would you give to students who are on the fence about studying abroad?
I would say just do it. And I know that that's like basic advice, but I think it is an experience that you will not be able to get like you can go abroad, obviously, when you leave college, but being able to go with like a group and other people who have similar interests or even different interests than you really creates a very cultivating experience. So go for it.
I would definitely agree. And I think that the aspect of having these, at least MTSU signature programs that I've went on, having these trips mostly planned out means that you can just experience the most that you can in the shortest amount of time that you're given. And that there's something really special about that, especially being with another group of people. I would say that there are funding sources if that is the point of concern.
That was going to be my next question, is what if people are struggling financially or don't know if they're going to be able to afford a study abroad trip?
Fantastic. So my first trip to New Zealand was funded mainly by the Buchanan Fellowship Funds. There are the Office of Study Abroad does offer smaller scholarships, such as the Commitment Scholarship for the first 8 or sometimes 10 students to go on the study abroad trip. And there's also a media scholarship for 1 person per each signature program to do a creative project, which could be social media, art, or even like an essay, perhaps, like that's more engaging than just an essay on your experiences abroad. For my trip to Canada, I was funded by the Gilman Scholarship, which is for students with Pell Grants. And it comes with its own requirements of updating the Gilman Scholarship when you're abroad and doing a follow-on service project. So I will be writing an article about my time in Canada for the MTSU Honors College magazine.
My experience was very similar. I got the media scholarship to go down to Brazil for that specific study abroad, and I also received a lot of funding from the Buchanan Fellowship Funds. I had another experience where I was able to get professional development funding for another internship abroad, and that helped a lot. So there are other resources even outside of like the Honors College or education abroad that you can look into, depending on the circumstances of your study abroad experience.
So where do you think, if I was a student and I'm interested in studying abroad, where should I start to try and find funding, especially if I'm not a Buchanan Fellow?
I would say probably start with the education abroad. They're probably going to be very helpful. First of all, the resources that they offer, but then also be able to like put you in contact with maybe outside resources as well.
Excellent.
I know that for the religious studies people that went with me, there was a scholarship for them that pretty much covered all of their travels. And I would say, based on that, to look into any departmental scholarships as well.
That's really smart.
So how have your study abroad experiences influenced your goals, whether they're academic or career-related or personal? Have they influenced your goals?
Yeah, definitely. I want to get my PhD in geoarchaeology. So being able to do an honors thesis where I can actually go to a place and do research on a topic that could potentially be my research when I get my doctorate is really, really influential, especially as I'm still an undergrad. So that's been a great experience.
As for me, perhaps these study abroad experiences have made me more confused about what I would like to do after I graduate, because I've had such a fantastic time that perhaps I am unsure of if I just want to stay in a company to do science. Like, I would love to stay within the STEM field, but I would like to extend it to a broader impact. And I would like to have that international cooperation as well as part of my career goals.
So what do you see yourself doing? You said this was your senior year. So what do you see yourself doing after you graduate then?
Well, I will definitely be applying to the Fulbright Scholarship. I'm considering a program in Germany to teach English.
Okay.
And I do have a prior German language experience, so this would be...
That would help.
Yes. I've never been to Europe before, so this would also be very exciting for me. But I do hope to continue this international collaboration. But perhaps international travel wouldn't have to be part of my job, but I would definitely be very happy taking these lessons learned with me into any job that I end up in.
Lightning round. What's your favorite local dish?
Oh, Ethiopian food was fantastic.
Ooh, I'll say.
What's the most unexpected cultural moment?
Oh no. Perhaps this isn't as lightning round as we would like it to be.
We'll skip that one. Okay. A phrase or a word that you learned in another language and still use.
Said brigada a lot, which is thank you.
It was mostly an English program, however, let's see. The way that Canadians say sorry, I think it might have impacted my accent a little bit during my time there.
Okay, I gotta hear it.
Sorry, sorry, and perhaps.
What do you miss the most now that you're home?
I miss the walkability and taking a streetcar all around the town.
Yeah, I miss all the people I met and my friends that I made down there.
Okay. One item that you brought back that means a lot to you.
I brought back a mini figurine of the CN Tower, and I have a collection of towers that I've been to. However, one of my annoyances is that I did not start this collection when I was in New Zealand and went to the Auckland Sky Tower. And I cannot find any of these models online. So if anyone happens to be going to New Zealand, I am searching for a mini model of the Auckland Sky Tower.
I got a handmade necklace with like a frog on it. No specific meaning, but the fact that it was like somebody made it by hand. And I wear it like all the time. I love it.
Cool. Well, thank you guys. Is there anything else that you guys want to add about your study abroad experiences or about MTSU in general while I have you here?
This was a life-changing and fantastic experience, both of these programs that I went on. And once again, I do highly recommend taking a look at these programs.
Yeah, same. I think no matter what your interests are, you can find something. I think we both can speak on the fact that you can find something in your major or completely outside your major, and it will still be a revolutionary experience.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Honors Spotlight. We hope you enjoyed getting to know the people, passions, and stories that make the MTSU Honors College so unique. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share the podcast with others. You can also follow the Honors College on social media to stay up to date on future episodes and events. To learn more about honors at MTSU, visit honors.mtsu.edu. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep being extraordinary.